What's up, guys? My name is Peter. Thanks for coming to my talk. This is a Script Kiddie's Guide to Easy Wins. This is the first time I've presented to any large group. This is also the first time I've talked in front of a bunch of hackers. So I present this with a great amount of humility and please, please feel free to ask questions if I yard sale and it gets awkward. But thank you guys for coming, and let's just get to it. So, as a heads up, this talk is not for the advanced. This is like, I'm a software developer by trade. I just basically work with pandas. I'm very much a pigeonholed talent. But this is what I've been really excited about for like the past 10 months. And I've been putting it into my workflows in professional and personal life, and it's really made an awesome change in a lot of things. So there it is. If you're looking for buffer overloads or reverse engineering, this isn't the talk. But basically, I'm talking about macros, the things that have that are like one-shot bits of code, little things that do exactly and only one thing, that are recursive, or not recursive, not infinite looping, no decision making. This is just like a one and done solution for just any tiny task that you don't want to do. And so the takeaways that I'm looking for is just a little understanding of what my philosophy on what has made a difference in my workflows, some examples of unconventional script usage for fun and profit, the risks and rewards, and just basically an opportunity to run stuff by me if you like. So a little bit about me. I'm a computer science major. I've worked mostly as a business analyst, and nowadays I do a lot of stuff with Python, Airflow, pandas, and if you're a Myers-Briggs person, I'm an INTP, so that gives you an idea of what I'm about. And the crux of this talk is basically if you're doing something and you're just putting all of your focus into it, you're gonna hit a glass ceiling on how fast you can do things. If you're spending some time on your infrastructure, you're also going to be spending a lot of time at first building out, spending a lot of time in, oh man, guys, I'm crashing. Oh, okay. But basically, if you're building out a lot of tiny little scripts to improve your workflows, you're going to be giving yourself more space to think on the bigger picture. That's generally what I'm chasing after. And so, if you're building out a fast infrastructure, you gain speed over time, and you don't necessarily have a top speed. Also, I wrote these slides, and I feel like they're super abstract, so if you want me to dive into something a little bit more, I'm probably going to jump around them a little bit, but feel free to chime in if you like. So when I'm talking about a macro or a script, I'm not necessarily using formal terminology. I am looking for something that basically just solves a problem pragmatically, something that I can write quickly based on my knowledge base. So this, examples are just pasting stuff, mouse wiggling, executing obscure bash commands that I don't necessarily use all the time. And when I'm looking at these, the things that I'm trying to consider is it going to be dependable? Is it something that is easy to implement? Does it really provide me value? And largely what I'm considering is, is it something that I will use? The issue that I run into is, you can build something complex, you can build something nice, and if you don't know how to call it well, you can't call it reflexively, it's not necessarily helping keep your focus where you want it. So having something that you can call via muscle memory is 1,000 times better. That's kind of ultimately that's what it's about. Yeah, I think I talked about muscle memory. It's basically, I'm all about flow state, and I want to make sure that I'm building things that are Is this talk to like? So,
Can
you good with it?
Can you explain what a flow state looks like for you?
Yeah, okay, awesome, thank you. So like flow state for me is like being able to be engaged enough that I don't get bored or disconnected from my work, but at the same time it's something that removes the mental fog from, as you can see, I'm somebody that like spaces out hard, I like bifurcate mentally. And so if I have something that allows me to just be like, okay, I know that I've got to get this thing done, I just hit the button and it like sends out the nice email for a recurring problem that I don't necessarily have the emotional capacity to want to address. Like flow state for me is being able to say, okay, someone asked a pointed, difficult question, I can hit this button, it auto-responds, and it responds diplomatically. So I still have the tactical advantage of being kind, but I also address the issues premeditatively. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the environment you're working in to give some context. Like
Yeah.
you said Bash, so I assume you're working in Linux or?
Yeah, okay, awesome question. So where I work is, I work in two different physical machines, right? One is my just regular Linux machine that I just tool around on personally, and then I have it connected to a KVM to a Windows box that has WSL2 and then some containers for, different Linux environments for airflow. So I want to talk a little bit about, let's just jump into the hardware then, so I can tell you like how I call these macros, right? So because my work computer is a Windows machine, I use auto hotkey a lot. And yeah, of course if you want to put these things into play, you probably want like admin access to your computer. But auto hotkey, who's familiar with this? Have you guys? All right, good. So I think it was originally made for cheating in multiplayer games online, and it just leverages the .NET framework, and you can basically say I want to set up Control F9 to like button mash, turn 180 degrees and like headshot somebody with a shotgun or something like that. But it's really useful in a work environment. So like in this picture here, can you guys see my mouse? I don't know. Okay, cool. So like F10 right now, like I just have that set up so that I think it opens an RDP instance. This is for my a former setup. But it's really nice being able to say, coming back to the flow state question, how do I jump between the apps? Like, how do I make sure that I'm moving at the speed of thought and I don't want to just like hit Alt-Tab, like, did I use that last or did I have to like step through like 7 documents back? I can hit Control F2 and that pops open Outlook, or F6 that builds an appointment in Outlook, F9 opens Notepad++. So being able to switch apps when my mind is in the attention space that it needs to be before I find myself staring at Chrome and being like, why am I looking at this like Stack Overflow page from 2 days ago? That's kind of what I'm shooting for with AutoHotkey. Along with that, I have this thing called a Ducky Pad. Has anyone heard of this thing? Okay. This thing's on Tindy. It sells. You can build it yourself. It's all open source. But it's basically a macro pad. But what it does is you can see it's got like 2 itty bitty buttons underneath the OLED, and you can page through 15 pages of Ducky script macros that are like rubber ducky written. So you can have something that will, like, what's a good example? Like, you've got one that's like for your media when you're in meetings, and you can say like, okay, this button's just going to hang up a Teams call, this button's going to mute, this one's going to turn off video, or you can have it where it types out something like, yo, what's going on? Can you push this to prod for me? And because it is leveraging just the I/O, you don't have to like configure a GUI or anything like that. It's literally just like Ducky scripts to control either computer. The reason I mention that with regards to the environment that you were talking about is because if you've got 2 computers that you're bouncing between, if you build a script robustly, you can have it so that if you hit a KVM switch, you just switch it from one computer that's Windows and one computer that's Linux. And if you've built something that works ambivalently, then you're set up for success a broad use script. Let's see. Yeah, and I use bash aliases because my personal environment is Linux and my work environment has WSL2 in it. I've got Linux in there as well. And a note on AutoHotkey while I'm thinking about the environment as a whole. What's really cool about having containerized Linux is that if you use AutoHotkey and then you have like a command, like I've got one that's like you type UV and it will navigate automatically to the path where your Windows environment is, so /mount/c whatever. And really handy if you're dropping in like archived files from SharePoint, saving them on your downloads file, but then you need to reference them with respect to a container. You just type like cd UV and then just type in your file name. So that's the hardware. I'm basically hardware, software, the resources I use for this stuff. So examples. This is a super simple one, but oftentimes I'll get a text message from my wife and she'll be like, hey, what are the balances on all our accounts? And to start, no, I'm not like having this thing auto sign in to the bank or anything like that. I'm not building automated postage notes that automatically own me. But what I am doing is I'll have it read down the line items of all of the aliases of the bank accounts. So it'll say something like, okay, this is Uncle John's savings account, this is our pet dog's HSA, etc. And then I can just look at the screen of the browser for the balances, and then another screen that has like, I don't know, my Android text message web portal, right? And I can just type in like -600, -22,000 for balances. And it's useful just because then you don't have to like, straddle account names versus numbers. Something that I use all the time is file name governance. So this is an AutoHotkey script that I built that basically, if I just type dateff, it basically starts up a file name that I'm building with a month underscore date underscore year prefix. So I used to name my files like, Python program underscore new for real, but broken, and that sucked. But now if I type like dateff, client name for an archive file, then I can reference that immediately by saying like cd uv dateff tab and then type in the client number. Like I'm on the most current data that I'm managing, and if my downloads file just builds up, or my downloads folder builds up with a ton of files, I can still find what I'm looking for and grab the hottest stuff. Questions so far? Is this making sense? Hell yeah. All right. Yeah, bonuses. If you guys use Airflow, sometimes you need to do a unit test in Airflow, and you want to call up yesterday's date. Just have date YY or date DD for writing these things in a nice human way. Have you guys heard of the term propinquity? Okay. Propinquity is a weird thing. It's the unconscious or subconscious likelihood of using something because of its spatial relationship to you. So if something has high propinquity, it is in a location that is where it will be utilized often, versus low propinquity where something you don't even know it exists, or you've forgotten that it still exists. And when it comes to how I try and,
Your microphone cut out.
Let's see. Oh, I flipped the switch. My bad. All right. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for the heads up.
I got you back.
Hey, were you guys able to hear me? Was I projecting? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good deal. Okay. So when I consider propinquity, I'm also considering propinquity in the DuckyPad. So what you're seeing here is a picture of the user interface for putting your Ducky scripts and labeling them and coloring the DuckyPad. And what I'm doing here is everything with a G underscore is a relationship to get. So all of these are get related commands that get called based on where they are. So I have an idea of the ideal or the default sequence that I step through. So get fetch is get fetch, get pull all in one macro, versus get status, get commit, get push, get add. But then you also have something weird like get data, which is just like an awk sed mix-up that allows me to copy and paste my git commit reasons. It like does a tree on the repo, and then it puts it in my clipboard. Well, okay, no, it doesn't put it in my clipboard. It just calls that. And then I snag it, just copy it, put it in my clipboard, and then I call push to prod, and then it writes to, hey Joe, hey Bob, here's what I'm intending to push today, all of the little parameters that I have, and then it pastes in the directory that I just changed, so everyone can see what I'm talking about. The context is all there. And what's nice about this is that, I'm thinking about it and I'm thinking, okay, I've pushed my code through, and now I just click 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and as I'm watching it do that, I can lean on my subconsciousness. It's like driving a car and not trying to solve the long division problem that my teacher gave me in 2nd grade. So I really like that. And de-email, that after I've called push to prod, it builds out the email, and then I can hit this button optionally, and it will basically tab through Outlook, because I don't want to look at the UIs. I don't want to spend my prefrontal cortex RAM looking at an application. This just does the tab work, steps through, and then sets the delay email to 8 a.m. because I'm an early worker. And that way, nobody's doing something needs to be pushed, but it's not important. I don't want to wake anybody up at 3 a.m. This is the meat and potato of easy win for me, because this was, I decided to just automate all my responses to recruiters. So I was entertaining new offers, and the moment I did, in the middle of return to office season, I got 17 recruiters. I'm not a talented guy, but I had 17 recruiters reaching out to me all the time, and so I decided to make a sliding scale of responses, right? So I would have one that was okay, if someone offered me a job where it's fully remote, 2-day work week, and it allows you to, it's great. Then I can have a button that says dazzle me, and it's just yo, I love this opportunity, I love to hear the problems that these guys are solving, here's my resume, here's my phone number, I'm gonna be available at these times for calls. And what I love about this is I'm one of these people that gets very nervous about responding to things, particularly big game changers, big wins, new job offers that if I just went to the interview, it would bump me up 20K, which it did, and I'm thankful for that. But being able to take the procrastination and the fear and the cognitive dissonance about reaching for something that is strategically valuable, and just putting it into a button so you don't have to think about it, I love that. And then also, for just removing the chaff, you've got, I only want remote gigs, or I only want Python gigs, or jobs with a Linux Unix stack, or just, I'm good, I'll reach in my network and see if I can find somebody whose skills merit that position. And so ultimately, this allows you to just step through the things that you want, and it's not necessarily about just getting a job. You can now cherry pick among all the options and not leave anything on the table because you're just wanting to whine. Making sense? Everybody good? Cool. Works for social maintenance too. So I'm somebody that totally lets my friendships degrade the bridge in the picture, and I'll just get tunnel vision on the things that I'm focused on. So now what I can do is I can build something that will say, using Shift Enter, so I can type it out in an SMS web portal or in LinkedIn or email. Just say, this is Jordan Harbinger, just saying hey guys, hope this finds you well. I'd love to hear what you're working on. No rush on a response, but hope you're doing well. Cheers, Peter Hoeft. And it's been awesome because I've reconnected with super old friends that I haven't talked to in ages, and it's just been an enriching experience. Because I've automated, I've increased the propinquity of reaching out to my friends, and at the same time, it's a set it and forget it. But then when I get a response, I'm there for real. Risks, passwords, don't do it. I have to put that there just because I don't need to address it, but I do. of course, you've got the consideration of calling a script in the wrong spot, right? So if you have, like, let's go back to that ducky pad picture. So you can set the pages for this thing, right? And if you're on something like push to prod, right, when you mean to mute the mute Microsoft Teams, then you might do something. 5 minutes. Oh, snap! I'm sorry, guys. We're burning through this. Okay, yeah, you can call a script in the wrong spot. Just be judicious with when you call your scripts. But the rewards are pretty awesome. If you standardize your scripts, you built them premeditatively, you know that you're going to have a succinct, accurate flight checklist of the things that you want to say to somebody. Also, if it is premeditative, you've got diplomatic responses to things that you don't necessarily want to be diplomatic about sometimes. And then, of course, obscure bash command flags. So, you know, if you have something weird where you're using Pandoc and you don't use it often, but you want to take your markdown files and convert them into PDFs, you don't remember how to do that, you can just like macro that. I also like the fact that it's speed with supervision. So if it is a one-shot thing, you know, you're not going to be building Mirai botnet where it like recurses and like goes nonlinear and like all of a sudden you own all of the, you know, security cameras in France. It's only it has a start, it has an end, it doesn't propagate, it doesn't loop or recurse. And if you've got something like that, then you have the supervision so that it's not propagating outside of your scope. But really the cherry on top is the the reflexive instantiation of getting stuff done. If you pull the wine out of it, you just find yourself doing things. So I was going to put up a GitHub of all my stuff. I didn't yet, but hit me up on LinkedIn if you like. Otherwise, I'll put up a GitHub, and if you add me on Friendster or whatever this is, I'll hook you up. And so, thank you guys for listening to me. And if you've got questions, I'm all ears for them now, or otherwise I'll walk off stage. Yeah.
What was your last name again?
Hoeft, Hoeft. Oh yeah, here, I'll pop that back up. Yes?
So it seemed like you might have had a lot of scripts like fire and forget. Do you have any of them where it just fires up and then you can do like a sanity check before you send all of them?
Yes, yeah, for many of them I do. Let me see if I've got an example. Not a perfect example, but for git commit, right? When I'll call git commit, it will ask for like a commit reason. So I'll have it type it all out into terminal, and then just have like comments go here between the quotes and not hit enter. And so then I just backspace out of that and write in what I want. Same with this this gdata, which is doing an awk-sed pwd combo. It basically trees the current directory and then at the bottom echoes what I'm writing about the current commit repository. And so, yeah, I just leave that space open as well to type in what I want, and then, yeah, I just get the result. Thank you. That it? Oh, yes.
Yeah. How do you balance out when the cost of automation might exceed the cost of the manual task?
That's a great question. Always trade your penny for a nickel, never in reverse. So, yeah, most of these things, and that's the cool thing about it as well, is that you have the second order effect, right? If you've got a pipeline for, I know that I'm going to be building a macro that's a one-shot, and you've built that meta infrastructure, then that speed is going to increase over time as well. So if you lean on, especially if you lean on the tools that you know, and I'm not saying don't research, but you know, adopt more as you get what I'm saying. Okay, thank you guys. I really appreciate you listening.